Today, our instructor is none other than Christian Sadler. Just as we learned in the Money Matrix video today, where you start out in life isn't where you have to end up. Now, Christian didn't start out in a garage apartment like this subject of today's video, but he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth either, and that he didn't let that stop him. He may not have a college degree, but he is educated. He has taken the education that he has gained through Renatus and become a real estate investor extraordinaire, property and land developer. He is a wonderful leader here in Team Elevate. It's been wonderful to watch him in the last couple of years and learn from him. And today we all get to learn from him. Christian, we appreciate what you do for us. How are you, sir?
I'm amazing, Ron. How are you?
It's been a wonderful day, and I can't wait to go out and find successes.
Very cool. All right, let's jump into things here, folks. First thing I want to do is I want to thank you, Ron, for everything that you do and your continual ability to show up and make things happen. Truly is appreciated here. Let's see if I can get rid of some of this background noise. All right. Is that any better? Seems like it is on my end, so hopefully it is on you guys' end as well. And it's a beautiful morning, folks. We got a nice fresh blanket of snow out here in Oakley, and it's just the sun is creeping up over the mountains, and I'm excited to be alive. I'm excited to engage in my day. We've got lots of great things happening, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to open up the call here and find out what you guys would like to talk about today. I jumped on and was able to jump on the recording from Michael yesterday and loved the information he shared and the checklist of, taking people through that 8 hours of information. And I know that oftentimes, I just jump into my own agenda on these calls. And so I wanted to make sure that I took a break from my own agendas and just took the time to open up the call and allow you guys to direct the attention of where we focus our time today. So I'm going to give you the opportunity. If you've got something that's really been pending, a question that you have, or a topic that you really wanted to focus on and get more insight on, I just invite you to push *6, come off of mute, and go ahead and ask away.
Christian, Ron here. Hey, I've got a question on you're making your phone calls and things. What have you found that helps you center yourself, get ready to make those phone calls and make it a successful call rather than enter with fear?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that mode of kind of the fear and trepidation and nervousness as they're thinking about making calls. And that's usually when all that comes in is during the thinking about part. And so what I've found, there's lots of ways to change your state by all means. And so if that means, listening to a specific song and getting pumped up, if that means, going through and as John Ferguson out in Texas would say, having a little bit of a freak out moment where you freak out for a little while and just get out of your mind and scream and yell, that's cool too. What I've found, though, more important almost than getting into a proper state is getting into the actual call, taking action. So action overcomes fear 100% of the time, right? And so it's the inaction that holds us back. And it's actually the inaction that creates more fear and trepidation. So a lot of times it's just looking at truth and realizing, there's nothing bad that could come from this call. In fact, the only bad could be not making this call and robbing these people of the opportunity to see this information and move forward. And so in that scenario, it comes down to having enough dials, right? Having enough phone numbers to call and then taking action. And usually it's that first call that is the hardest one to make. It's that very first call. And if you'll just force yourself to make that very first call, you're going to realize it wasn't that bad. In fact, a lot of times they don't even answer. And that gets you over that first biggest hurdle of fear and trepidation. And then you make the next call. And you just push yourself to make that next call. And if you focus on, I'm just going to make this one more call, and then as soon as you make and finish that one call, you say, I'm just going to make one more call, then pretty soon you'll realize that you're into the flow of things and you won't want to stop. So if you set yourself 15 minutes, or if you set yourself an hour, if you set yourself 3 hours, it doesn't matter the time. If you really get into the flow of making dials, by the time you get to the end of your time, you're going to look for excuses to make just one more dial. So where before you were saying just one more because, or just one call because it was, you trying to get yourself into the call, at the end of it, you're going to be saying just one more call because you're not going to want to stop making those phone calls. And what I've found for me anyways, oftentimes my most successful calls come in the latter phone calls. They come in those last dials, going that extra mile. And when I've told myself I'm going to go until this certain time, and then I push just beyond that, and I make 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 more dials, those dials often end up being people who move forward by combo. So be willing to first get yourself started, and then when you get towards those end of the calls, don't be afraid to go that extra mile. So I don't know if that helps, Ron, but that's what I've found for myself is, first of all, just taking that action and getting that first dial done, getting that first phone call, and having a whole list of phone calls, in front of you when you're going to make them, so you realize that there's another one to make, and there's another one to make after that. Regardless of what happens on that first or second or fifth call, there's always that next person that you're going to reach out to. Does that make sense?
You bet. I appreciate that. I've also found that the fear is probably completely unfounded. Usually when I get into the phone call, it goes much better than I feared.
And it's true. And I think all of us have dealt with that, right? It's usually we make up all this stuff in our mind, but once we actually get into it, it's not so bad. And that's why I say oftentimes it is just getting that first call done and kind of getting over that biggest hurdle, because your biggest hurdle is not the actual phone call, it's starting the process. And I'm glad you brought that out, because there's probably a lot of people on the phone that have been in that situation. And listen, folks, I've been in that situation. And sometimes I still get into that mode where for some reason I just have, this something lingering in the back that makes it difficult to get into action. And, it's oftentimes your own resistance to success, your own resistance to something different. And so to shift that, to get out of that mode, the answer is action. Almost 100% of the time, the answer is action. Because reading more or understanding more or learning more is not necessarily going to get you over that fear. In fact, it just gives you the opportunity to build up more scenarios and more potential outcomes to be nervous about. If you'll just take that action, though, if you'll just get yourself to start by making that one phone call, you're going to get over that biggest hurdle, and it's going to be easier to make just one more phone call after that. And then the fear and trepidation continues to dissipate. And the more calls you make, the easier it is. The faster you get into your day, or your phone calls, the better off that you'll be. And so there is a book out there that I would recommend to folks. It's called Eat That Frog. Okay, Eat That Frog, and it talks about taking on your heaviest or your hardest or your biggest task of the day and doing that first. And I think it's a good idea if you're having a hard time, if there's been, a day or 2 or 3 or even a week or more that you've stopped yourself from making the phone calls, even though that's what you need to do, I would suggest maybe starting off the day and saying, I am not going to do anything until I've made this first phone call, until I've made these first 5 phone calls, until I've made these first 10 phone calls. Whatever that goal is, move toward it in that way. Again, that book is called Eat That Frog.
Hey, Christian, this is Jess. Good morning.
Good morning, Jess.
I have been working on a thread of understanding how confidence affects the whole thing, and I've identified two different types of confidence this week. One of them is self-confidence, and the other one is confidence in the product, in Renatus. I'm just wondering your thoughts about that, and if you've noticed any other types of confidence.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, those two scenarios, those two ideas of confidence, I apologize, I was running over to the door there. Those two different types of confidence are crucial. And, you know, confidence in yourself is one thing, but oftentimes, you know, the confidence in ourself can be overcome in this business because we can be reminded over and over again that we have plenty of support. We have plenty of people there that can take us to that next step if we're just willing to take the first step. Confidence in the product, though, is an absolute must. If you don't believe in what you're doing, if you don't fully believe in Renatus, folks, it's going to be difficult for you to take action in your business or follow through on the things that you say you're going to do. And so I think that this is an important point to bring up. If you're in a position where you're still wondering, you're still questioning whether Renatus works, whether Renatus can work, whether the system actually, you know, produces results, probably time for you to spend a few hours looking at testimonials, because literally we have hours upon hours upon hours of testimonials of people who have made this system work. And and oftentimes, and Jess, you probably have seen this, oftentimes people will look toward their own confidence or their confidence in the product based on their own results. And the fact of the matter is, it's okay to be new, and everybody has their own learning curve. And if you're saying, I'm not sure that this works because I haven't made it work for me, the logic is that if it works for you, then it works. And if that logic is sound, if it's true that if it works for you, then it worked for others, guess what? It's worked for hundreds, I mean, thousands of folks across the nation that have been able to take this system and get results from it and have their own level of success. And so if they've done it, then the system works. And therefore, if people will just look at it from that standpoint and understand that truth, it's going to be easier for them to have confidence in the product and then therefore have confidence in themselves of actually taking action and using it. Is that kind of along the lines of what you're finding as well, Jess?
Well, yes, and I kind of think you did, because it brought up a third kind of confidence for me, which is borrowed confidence. And when you have a good 5-star, you have somebody that, or just anybody in the community that you have gotten the ability to really edify them and step out and say, you know what, I know this works because I've seen it work. Okay, I know this person, and here's what they did. And so that borrowed confidence is of it.
Jess, you're cutting out on us. We're only getting about every other word you're saying. I mean, we got a lot of them, but a few times there you're kind of going every other word.
Again?
Still happening.
Still happening. Okay. Well, just basically that borrowing self-confidence, borrowing confidence of any kind from the other mentors and people that we have in the community is another great thread of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Borrowed confidence, I think, is crucial when you're getting started in this. In fact, I would dare say that those people that have had the most success the fastest, it's because they borrowed the confidence of the people around them. You know, you look at somebody like Wanda, right? Wanda Castillo, and she came in here not necessarily with all of this success of her own that she knew that she could do real estate, right? She didn't necessarily know that she could go out there and build a 6-figure business in less than a year. But she borrowed the confidence of Mitch Nelson, and she borrowed the confidence of the other leaders that she met. And she used that to go out there and just talk to everybody, because in her mind, it made sense that if these other people are having success, so could she, and so could the people that she was talking to. And she believed so much in their ability to have success with this product that she just went out there and did it. And I know Wanda is right on the verge of eclipsing $100,000 in commissions, roughly, I think, 9.5 months. So I think it'll be about 10 months where she'll hit a 6-figure income from starting at zero, folks, starting with no experience in this business. And a lot of it, I believe, comes from that borrowed confidence. She used the logic that many times us leaders are trying to instill in you, where she didn't say, I need to have success first. She already saw people were having success, and she used that for her confidence in going and talking to everybody that she could. Great topic, Jess.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, who else wants to come out? Give us a topic or a question, or any way I can help with some guidance. I've got 5 more minutes here with you, folks. 5 more minutes, and then I got to jump over to another leadership call. Who wants to give us the last topic of the day?
Hey, Christian, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of success with the actual Renatus marketing, but I haven't gotten into any deal. What would you tell people when they ask you what, like, well, have you done any deals? Like, I feel like sometimes that might bring down my rapport and stuff, so kind of wondering.
And who is this?
It's Gerardo.
Hey, Gerardo. Yeah, again, this is oftentimes just a perception, right? We think that people are going to judge us because we haven't done a deal yet, but oftentimes you're still in the learning process. And if you'll embrace that learning process and you'll have full confidence that you're moving in the right direction, usually that is overcome very easily. Now, the people that are going to use that excuse, Gerardo, are people that are going to find another excuse once you do a deal anyways. I'm just being honest with you. If they're saying as soon as you do a deal, then I'll come look, they're going to find another excuse as soon as you get a deal done. In fact, we recently were having this conversation, and I had some folks on my team, and they have been doing property for 20 years, right? They've been flipping properties for 20 years, and they still had people that had excuses of as soon as, this and as soon as that and as soon as whatever, then I'll take a look. So for most people, that's an excuse. Now, the way that it takes power is if you give it power. And so when you come in here or when you're having a conversation with somebody and they say, have you done a deal yet? And you can confidently say, well, no, I'm going through the learning process right now. And what I love about this is I've already made $20,000 while I'm taking the time to go through my education and learn and focus on the best strategy for me in real estate. And if they press you on it more, you can just explain to them, listen, this isn't a get-rich-quick program. This is a career that I'm moving into. And the fact of the matter is I have mentors and I have people that I'm working with that are making years. And if you look at any other profession that you can go to where there's a likelihood of making a 6-figure income, you're going to spend 4, 6, 8, sometimes 10 or 12 years going through a college education, a traditional college education, if you wanted to become a doctor or an attorney or any of those high-level professions that could also yield a 6-figure income. So it's okay if you take the time to really learn and study this education, and instead of just getting into a deal, creating a career and building a business. that help?
Yeah, it does. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So a lot of it, again, it comes down to your confidence, Gerardo, when you're talking to them. Don't let them pull you down, right? Don't let their judgment make you question or make you admit that this isn't working. The truth of the matter is, you know, you're very new to this process. And you've been doing some amazing things and helping get others involved, and you're preparing yourself now for a great career. So just embrace that, embrace being new, embrace the learning process. And when you stand up in confidence in that, other people will see it and feel it, and they'll also want to be involved.
And also lean into the community, because the community already has a system set up. So you can say something like, we have property tours every single week where we're showing people exactly how the deals are coming together. These are real live students who are doing it, and you can learn right from them. That's a great source for you. Why don't you come out this Saturday?
Oh, okay. I got it then. Thank you too.
All right, guys, I'm going to end it there just because I have a very tight schedule today. I've got to make sure that I'm prepared for this leadership call, and then I'm heading down to actually meet with Bob Snyder and chat with him a little bit. And then I've got a full day ahead of me before our event tonight. So, by the way, I just want to remind you guys, if you're on the call, there is not going to be study groups tonight. In fact, we're taking both the Essentials and the AIT study group, and instead, you guys are going to be coming in with me to one room, and we're going to be doing a deal analysis workshop. We're going to be doing a deal or no deal session. So if you have properties that you've been looking at, gather all the information that you can and bring them with you tonight, and we're going to analyze them in front of the room. So preferably these are properties that you that you've already found, that you're trying to figure out, how much should you offer. Maybe you already have offers in. If you know the repair budget, that's going to be that much more helpful. Otherwise, we're going to be guessing. The more information that you can bring, the better. And if you own your education, you can be in that room. If you have guests that have entered their order, they can also join us as a guest. And if they've put in their funding and they're just waiting for their 7 days to come through, they can actually bring deals. So you could literally have somebody right now who is in the process and deciding whether to put in their order. Tell them, hey, listen, put in your order and your funding, and you can actually bring the deals that you've been talking to me about, and we can analyze them in front of the room and give you some direction on what your next step is. So hopefully that helps you guys. Looking forward to seeing you tonight, and get out there and just make it happen.